Welcome to Birdseed. This is your host, Joe Bird. Thank you so much, as always, for joining. Happy New Year. We sit here in the first week of January of 2026. I'm optimistic on 2026. I think it's going to be a really good year. Obviously, there's lots of strife and turmoil in the world, so it's not going to be super simple, but I'm confident it's going to be a good year. Super optimistic there. It just feels like maybe there's some less resistance on things that just seem like they were just always resisting, always had to push through. So super confident there. Time will tell, but it is what we make it as well, right? A couple of things I want to touch on today. So I want to recap some awesome things that went through on the holidays, New Year's Eve with family and taking some time away and just kind of really had some great experiences there. And then I want to talk about my mantra for 2026. I've talked before that I don't love the idea of a resolution. It's more action-based, checklist-based. I want to set my theme, my mantra, whatever you want to call it, for the year. That will color everything I do. So every decision that I make is going to run through the filter of these three words we're going to talk about. And they all tie together. They're independent items, but when you can kind of combine them all, they really all work together and support each other. So what are those three words? Confidence, consistency, and currency. Now you hear the word currency and you're probably going to think profit, finances. Not the case. Obviously, that's all important. I have business goals. Don't get me wrong. That's all very important, but these are personal goals. Currency means being present, being in the current moment, right? So consistency, confidence, and currency. Confidence is my utmost goal. I find myself hesitating a lot, second guessing what I'm doing a lot, just in general, always worried about doing the wrong thing or making a mistake. And that shows up with lack of confidence. And that lack of confidence leads to maybe not the best decisions or hesitations, if nothing else. And I want to really, really, really work on this year about getting more confident. That does not mean egotistical. That does not mean arrogant. That is not productive at all. But really just about being confident in what I'm doing, confident in what I'm saying, confident in how I'm interacting with people. That's the main goal. Consistency will lead to the confidence. So when you have to think about what you're going to do, there's a whole lot of opportunity for that self-doubt to climb in at that point. So if you're consistent, if you practice, if you have routines, you have checklists, things happen every day or every week or whatever the consistency is or the timing is, that leads to confidence because you don't have to think about what's going to happen. You just do it. Action is the nemesis of being unconfident. How does currency or being present play into that? When you're in the moment, you are thinking less about the what ifs and the maybes and all the other things, right? So being present allows you to stay engaged one-on-one or whatever it is in the thing that you're making a decision on. And if you know what steps you need to take and you don't have to think about those steps and you're in the moment, that's going to exude confidence. It goes the other way. If you're confident, you're able to stay more consistent because you know that it works and you know what the outcome's going to be. And you're able to stay in the moment more because you know that's going to pay off. So the three of those in my mind really play well together to set me up for 2026 for the person that I want to be. Again, I don't want to be arrogant. I don't want to be egotistical. I want to be confident, consistent, and current. So let me know your thoughts on that as a mantra. I'm pretty excited for it. It's already starting to show up in my life here just in the first week of January. It really came out of nowhere. Literally New Year's Eve, I'm like, oh, I haven't had much time with the holidays to really think about, what my theme's going to be for 2026. And it just hit like a load of bricks. It was confidence, consistency. I added the currency to it. Is that it's something I really have been trying to do more of. When you're playing games with the kids or whatever and your phone's ringing, it's so hard to not just be like, oh, there's a deal in that call, or that's the deal that's blowing up that I got to go fix and save or whatever it might be. But really what you're doing is you're not showing up to either in that moment because you're not being there present with the kids playing the game or building the puzzle. But then you're also not really there for the client for what's going on because you're worried about being back with the kids. So being able to separate the two to say, hey, this is what I'm dedicating my attention to right now. I dedicate it over here at this point and I can come back here. And again, just being confident and consistent will lead to that. So we had an awesome holiday season. Unfortunately, as it seems every single year, the kids got sick right before Christmas. So they got flu A right before Christmas, both pretty darn sick. I was sick for a day, not sure if it was flu or something else. But thankfully I was able to kick it. Thankful to our awesome concierge doctor. We were able to get Tamiflu really easily. Hopefully that I think that really did help. Unfortunately, the kids were better by Christmas Day, which was awesome, Christmas Eve even. They're still testing positive, so we avoided family for Christmas Day, which is, obviously disappointing. It's always nice to see your family on a holiday like that. I will say in the gratitude practice that I try to push myself on, I having no commitments on Christmas Day was actually not a bad thing. It was kind of nice. You got to really just slow down, take your time doing everything. There was no pressure. Got to help the kids set stuff up, set my stuff up. We were, hosting company the next day because we were figured we'd all be negative, which we were, and then leaving to go to visit family right after that. So it actually worked out really well. Again, I missed the family. Don't get me wrong there. I would have preferred to spend it with the family, but considering that wasn't a good option, I'm proud of myself for taking the time to be grateful on what it was and making the best of what it was, which was just low key family, direct family time. It was actually very nice. So the next day, my dad and aunt came over. We did gifts with them. That was really nice. My dad's incredibly difficult to shop for. He's pretty much, if he wants something, he's going to have done the research and decided if he really needs it or wants it, and he's already bought it, so it's hard. But I feel like I did a good job of really slowing down and thinking about his needs, and I knew he was him and hauling on a garage door opener, and I was able to get a really good deal on what seems to be a good one, and I think it really helped make his holidays good, that it was thoughtful, something he'd actually use, not a tie that he's not going to wear or something like that. So that was really, really nice. Then we had friends that had moved to Florida come over. We see them maybe once or twice, maybe 3 times a year. So it's nice. We were really close to them when they were here. So it's nice to just hang out with them and catch up with them. Then we woke up and we started our driving. So we drove 10 hours down to Evans, Georgia, which is where my in-laws are, spent some time with them. Then we took the kids up to Asheville, North Carolina, which is about 3.5 hours, give or take, for the 30th and 31st for New Year's Eve. Went to go see our favorite band, the Avett Brothers, New Year's Eve with the kids in Asheville. Super awesome show, super awesome time. I love that they have good taste in music for the most part. But I like that they appreciate good music. They might like some stuff that I don't love as well, but that's okay because they like the good stuff too. So that was really nice to just be with them, explore Asheville. I've been there once before. It's nice to get back there. Super cool town with bitter cold, but super cool town. Again, great experience at the show. Performance was amazing. We stopped off in Greenville, South Carolina, which I'd been to once before as well, and did the walk over the bridge over the waterfall area in downtown Greenville. Absolutely stunning. I actually want to go back to Greenville and spend some time there. I think it seems like a really cool town. Then got back to Evans, which was fantastic. Spent some time with the family. And then I've been trying to get into a tattoo artist that's pretty popular. And David Hale, Love Hawk Studios, he does a lot of tour concert posters, Tyler Childers, Avett Brothers, and so on, murals, full-time artist. And it's funny because he only does lotteries to get in. And I had applied for the lottery for the first of the year because I knew we were going to be down that way. It's about 2 hours from my in-laws. And he had already booked somebody for that appointment. So that didn't work out. And me being the pessimist sometimes, it sort of just felt like, why? Everything has to be difficult. Like, I applied, the timing worked, it seemed like it was all going to work out and be great, and then it wasn't, and it was going to be difficult. And I only get tattoos in the winter because I don't want to deal with the sun and swimming and all that kind of stuff, and we don't spend that much time in the, winter time down there. So I was disappointed, is what it is. I wasn't that upset, but it was disappointing. It just sort of felt like another example of things being more difficult than they needed to be. Well, on the first, I get an email from him that his first client of the year had come down with the flu and couldn't make it. I know it's, low chance you're still in town or available, but if you can make it tomorrow morning, let's do it. So absolutely, I'll be there. So that's super cool. And then in having this, 5-6 hour conversation with this guy where he's just a super cool human being, super intelligent, has very interesting experiences and perceptions on the world, and just had a very awesome conversation with him. The kind of person that you can kind of just cut the fat and get right to the juicy details. And he opened up and said, hey, thank you for being available. The first client of the year, costs are going up. Like, I was kind of like, oh, this isn't a great omen for the year. The fact that you were available and it was this perfect, situation, it really just makes me feel better about the year. And then that's when I said the same thing in contrary. So, it's so funny because if you're on opposite sides, you would never really think the other person's feeling something similar. And frankly, that resolution coming together like that made it even more special than if it had just booked easily in the first place. So that's part of my gratitude practice, part of my slowing down, being present, staying out of the, what ifs, the could have beens, all that kind of stuff. Um, so really, really, really happy about how that turned out. It's an awesome piece of art, absolutely gorgeous piece of art. Fit right on my arm. Didn't even have to resize it or do anything. It just was like a glove. But yeah, 2026, I think it's going to be really good. I'm really excited for it. Thank you so much for listening. I'm going to be more consistent on the podcast as part of that consistency, be more confident on it, consistent, and try to be more present. I hope your 2026 is as good as I hope it will be. Thank you for listening. This is Joe Bird, Birdseeds. Have a wonderful day.